You're listening to the home of all things Lindenwood sports. It's the Lions Den on KCLC HD Through the Tower and on the Roar Network YouTube channel.
Alrighty, good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Powell. I am joined here with my beautiful co-host, James Zugmeyer.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
And you are back with the Lions Den. It's been a minute. It's been a couple weeks. This has been a stressful time because, it's the finale, people. Finals are here. We're all about to go on break and enjoy our time. But we got one last good show of the Lions Den for you. So, James, for anybody who hasn't listened before, why don't you break it down for them? What's going to be the show?
Well, if you've never tuned in before, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, thank you for being here. And third of all, this is how the show works. So, the first thing we normally do is we interview an athlete. No athlete this week because it's finals week. Everyone's just getting ready to go home. The athletes are already stretched out enough as in between practice, work, whatever. So we're no this week, not happening. But what we do have is the inside scoop on everything going down on the rest of the NCAA team sports that are currently active. And we're going to recap some of the teams that, just had their season wrap up, including your men's soccer team who actually made the NCAA tournament, in case you've been living underneath a rock.
I know. They did great this year.
They did great. We're going to break it down as we head into the Lions Den.
It's time to go inside the Lions Den and break down every current Lindenwood sports team.
Alrighty. So, since you brought up men's soccer, why don't you kick us off with, your sort of final thoughts on how men's soccer, because I know I watched a few of their games, but you worked quite a few of them.
Well, I know that last episode did not age well for us, particularly you. You guaranteed a W.
I did.
Summit League teams are a little bit better than OVC teams, at least in the grand scheme. There's a reason why our RPI was like 100th coming in. But you still look at the season and you say 14-3-2 is one heck of a record.
Oh, yeah.
You only lost by one goal to a playoff team in UMKC, and you did not play your best game. And it was just weird watching our team struggle because all season we're just used to this 14-win team that rolls over everyone. We're the top dogs of our conference. It was a weird atmosphere. I mean, it was weird to watch another team kind of dominate possession, not something you'd seen all year. But this was the most wins by this program since 2012, when we were still Division II. Was in that season, by the way, 2012, that was their second year at the Division II level. And they were that good already. 15 wins, I believe it was, in 2012. So You see, men's soccer for Lindenwood seems to adapt pretty well to moving up to new levels. That's all I'm going to say. But, they were the first Lindenwood team to make an NCAA tournament, first men's team to win a conference. I really liked this season. It was so much fun to watch. I do have a concern moving into next year before I'll ask you a question. 7 of your 13 goal scorers, so everyone that scored a goal this year, 13 players did it. 7 of them were seniors or grad students. 71% of your goals on the year came from those players. 71% of all your goals, of all your production, was from those players. They're going to need a good draft class coming in, a good signing class. I don't know why I said draft class. This is not the pros. Been thinking football recently. Last year they did it. Last year they brought in Luca Bartoni, they brought in Certitude, Clausen, Cesar, Hasler, Landes, Suarez. These players were immediate impacts for this team. They came in, they were starting every day, they played great. You're going to lose a lot of them. So I'm going to ask you this, with all the players leaving, with all the chemistry leaving, do you expect regression from this team moving into next year? And if so, how much?
So I think we're almost going to see what happened with volleyball this year. We're going to see that with men's soccer. They're not going to do terrible. I don't think they're going to regress to where they're like all negative and all that. But if we see a breaking 500 record, making the playoffs, but not really going far in the playoffs, and we're not talking NCAA playoffs, we're talking OVC tournament playoff. If that were to happen, I would not be surprised. Purely because, like you just said, 71% of them are seniors or grad students. The likeliness that we're getting some of those seniors back as grad students is probably not that high, considering that, They were able to help carry the Lindenwood men's soccer team as far as they did, as early as they are eligible for D1. Because bear in mind, this is first year D1 tournament eligibility, and you carry them into the tournament. So something tells me there's going to be some interest picking up these guys at a more professional level, if not a more like club level. So I do see regression, but I think it's regression on the scale of what volleyball had to go through this year of you're champions. You did it. Now you're going to have to build around a whole new rookie, a rookie class that may or may not fit the play style that you had last year, and you're still good enough to get into tournament play, but maybe not good enough to win it all again like you did before.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree with you to a point. You're going to lose a lot of talent, and this season's roster was a mixture of new faces with some of the old guard, which created a really good soccer team. I mean, you had your star goaltender go down halfway through the year, and another guy was able to pop right in because he'd been sitting on the roster for a few years, was already ready to go.
Yeah.
Next year, I don't really know. I mean, yeah, they got a lot of subs in this year, but the depth scoring was okay. But there's a lot of guys that just sat on the pine and didn't do a whole lot, and I don't know what they're going to do. But I wouldn't put anything past Chris Birch. He's a good head coach. They've managed to bring a lot of talent to Lindenwood. And this team is playoff eligible, which is a big, big boost for recruiting. They just won their conference, 14 wins. They're on a complete high. And all the videos coming out of Lindenwood look really good.
Oh, yeah.
So PR-wise, I think this team's in a good spot to go out and bring in some new recruits, and hopefully they don't volleyball. Which, I hate saying that, they don't volleyball. That just sounds so mean to the volleyball team. I don't mean it that way, but...
No, they still played great. Now, did they play like they did the year before? No. But kind of like how Autumn Back said at the beginning of, this show this season, or this semester, and towards the beginning of their season, she even said they lost a lot of talent. We need to get that sort of cohesion back. We need to learn how to be a team, especially with so many young players. I think that is exactly what's going to happen. And that's not to say the volleyball team is bad, because, Autumn Backs was still all over the OVC news pages all season long.
And there were a lot of players that were. What I was saying is, when I say they don't volleyball, I think this team will still win a round of the OVC tournament next year, because you just don't go from making the NCAA tournament in like the OVC and being that competitive to just not. Think of teams like Western and Eastern, the bottom of the barrel playoff teams.
Oh, we're still not going to be much better than them.
So if we're better than them, we're not going to be a volleyball. We're not going to be the last team in. We'll probably be decent, just missing a little bit here and there. You're a few years away from being legitimately ready to compete.
Yeah.
But that was men's soccer, and one heck of a season.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of teams that had a heck of a season, tell me about women's rugby.
Women's rugby. So start off with their record, 8-2. Out of a total of 10 games that you play, you win 8 of them, and you don't drop a single game at home. You defend the home front through and through all the way, and you know what? That's amazing. However, they did make the championship game, but they fell to Harvard with a scoreline of 19-22. So this was not like a blowout game. No, this was a down to the wire, trying to figure out how to pull out the win, and they just couldn't do it.
One penalty away.
Oh,
I mean, literally.
And, but they were on Harvard's home front, too. And that's who they played earlier in the season, where they got their first loss. They played Harvard. So they didn't meet them the rest of the season. They beat everyone else. And then right in the championship, you kind of knew it was going to be Lindenwood at Harvard, because they were the top 2 ranked teams in, women's rugby. So you figured they were going to meet again. I was very, very hopeful that, they were going to pull out that win. They just didn't, but it's okay. The stat that I kind of saw that was a little bit jarring is they haven't won against Harvard in 3 years now. The Lions have not beat Harvard in the past 3 years. And while they are still newly D1 along with the rest of the sports programs here at Lindenwood, to be playing Harvard for as long as you are and not collect a win is a little disheartening, especially when you meet them in the championship. So I think we might be starting a little bit of a bitter rivalry. Little old St. Charles with, Harvard, which is weird to think. It's weird to keep saying. However, I do want to give admiration and a massive respect to one of the seniors on the team. Actually, one of the players that we had on the show, and that's Amy Bryce. She's been a phenomenal player, even when, I was watching some of the games leading up to the championship and when they played against Army, literally in the semifinals going into the championship. Amy Bryce helped carry the team on her back a little bit and helped kind of push forward the momentum to where they could score and to where they can have that aggressiveness to push back against those teams. Because, you remember they were losing to Army at first, but then they had that massive comeback to where they were just fighting and clawing their way up. And that's not all Amy Bryce. That is a collection of the whole team. However, kudos and give the flowers to Amy Bryce because she's played amazing, and this was her senior year. So
bringing that leadership.
Not sure if she's coming back as a grad student wanting to play, if she's, I know we asked her a little bit about pursuing the professional level, if she's kind of wanting to just, fast track into that right after her senior season. But I think it'd be great to have you back for one more season. Just come back as a grad student.
Well, we don't know how many years, though, because unfortunately, women's rugby does not get the respect they deserve. And I can't go onto the roster page and look up as much as I'd love to be able to. So we won't speculate on that. But I know you have some questions for me here.
I do. So, we had the pleasure of working on one of the men's, I think the last men's game before this sort of holiday break, before they kicked their season back up in January. How do you think we can see the women's team sort of, improve on what was already a pretty stellar season? They've only lost to one team the entire season, but that one team seemed to haunt them literally the entire season. So how do you think they can improve on that?
A few things. For one, every single women's rugby game for Harvard ends up on ESPN Plus as long as they're hosting, right?
Instead of, Harvard's trash Ivy League network.
Right. If you go to their school and you want your family to watch you, right? Or you want to be able to go back and watch your games. It's easy. That's a big selling point for a lot of players to be able to be seen on the national stage, to have a live broadcast for you.
Yeah.
Lindenwood, as of right now, does not have one for every single game. And when they do have one, it's locked away on a website. They are a D1 sport. You have main media on campus. You also have the communications department, which we just so happen to be in.
Exactly.
Their games need to be broadcasted.
Oh, yeah.
That needs to be the next step for that program. And another one I have, and this is funny, you can take it seriously or not, but Harvard University is known for being really smart. Yeah. Everyone that goes there has to be good academically, including the athletes.
Yeah.
So if you get yourself a broadcast, you're basically putting yourself on their level. Okay, you're a national competitor. You're a team that has a chance to win a natty every single year. Mm-hmm. Except you don't have to be a brainiac to come to Lindenwood University.
You don't, no.
That can be a selling point, that you're going to come here, you're going to get a quality education, you're going to have a national broadcast every home game, and you're not getting locked out because we don't have a really strict GPA requirement where Harvard's like, you have to have a great resume, blah, 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 on top of being a great athlete. I think that's where Lindenwood could get it because you're going to see more recruits and you don't have limitations like some of these other Ivy League schools that dominate in rugby.
And, I'm glad, I'm going to build off that for a second. Harvard, you got the uniforms, you got the ungodly amounts of money that you got to go there, the GPA expectations, everything. There's so much rules and stipulations to Harvard, but also go into the semifinals with Army or Navy. If you go to West Point or the Naval Academy, you have to wear a uniform every single day, and by your junior year, you have to say that you are going to commission into the military service. Lindenwood, you get all the benefits of the great education that would come with any of those other schools, plus you get the freedom to play the sport that you love. And I know some people have been saying that, the tuition costs have been coming up a little bit. Nothing compared to, Harvard or any of those schools. So I think Lindenwood has a very good shot to get a lot of those players because it gives them a more grounded and realistic college experience on top of being able to play the game.
All right. Lindenwood also needs to cheat here and just say, hey, this is the one team on campus right now who can basically guarantee us a natty as long as we play our cards right.
Yeah.
Bump those scholarships up a little bit. Come on now. We got to just
entice the
recruit.
Players.
Keep bringing them in. This is a chance to win a natty. That is the first trophy that is not an OVC trophy that would go into the trophy case here at Lindenwood. You got to do it. The opportunity is now because in the next few years, you're going to see more teams, more colleges get a program. There's only I think 8 or 10 right now at the D1 level. There. When they start getting a little bit more competitive, it's going to get harder for Lindenwood. Now's the time, cement your legacy, start a dynasty, go all in on women's rugby. At least that's my opinion.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. They definitely... They should have had it this year. They played great. The cards just didn't fall that way. That's nothing against the team. However, invest in the teams that can win quickly if you were to invest as heavily as some other teams that are a few years away.
That's a great segue into this next team we're talking about. But we can't be too mad because the team we're talking about is football. Season's over. It's been over for about a week or two. They finished 6-6, 5-3 in conference, but they showed little brother who is boss once again. And yes, you are little brother now, Simo. Don't argue it. You got to beat us to prove it. 30-13. Screw up the delivery, but 30-13, dude. It's SEMO. This is supposed to be a tough rivalry. They played a great game the week before. Big comeback effort. I was expecting a really hard-fought fight here.
Oh, no,
I actually picked SEMO to win.
Yeah, you did. You did pick SEMO.
I hate to say it, but I thought SEMO was the better team coming in. They had that momentum. They had a hard-fought comeback victory where we just kind of beat the brakes off a team. Well, we beat the brakes off of them.
Yeah.
30-13 final score. This was their best season at Division I level by record. Back-to-back game ball brawl winners. This season, first time averaging over 30 points per game versus the conference. The offense looked good all season long, except for a few games, which I'm sure we're going to get into. And this was their first year with a positive point differential in the conference. They played competitive football.
They're playing good football.
I'm personally not satisfied, but I know that it's good. It looks really good.
It looks better than it did last year. And the year before that. And the year before that was actually not awful. The first year at Division I, you had a unicorn as a quarterback. Cade Brister, best QB in program history. The next season, every QB on the roster got injured. I mean, we were down to our fourth or fifth string. I know for our broadcast, we were like, who's the quarterback? We don't even have a graphic for this guy. Who are we putting in? It was bad. It was beyond bad. And then last year, Nate Glantz comes in, and you have some issues, and you're turnover prone, and some games you just don't show up. This year, for the most part, excluding a few games, and we're going to get into them, like I said. Yeah.
Competitive. Steps in the right direction. Young talent on the roster, although a lot of your key defensive pieces are going to be graduating. What are your kind of thoughts on the season, though?
So, my thing is they ended the season at 500, which I know that's more than I expected. I know that's more than you expected. I know that's probably more than what a lot...
Don't speak for me on that, actually.
That's fair. I think that's more than what a lot of people on campus expected. Now, that being said, I know I was very, optimistic about Lindenwood this season. I would hype them up almost every single show that we did, saying that they were going to win it, they were going to beat who they beat. I know Western Illinois, I was especially like, oh yeah, they got them. They're going to beat the brakes off them. I definitely look like a fool on that one. So maybe
everyone looked like a fool.
So maybe that's why I'm being a little bit more harsh towards the tail end of this, wrap up. But they ended at 500, which is nothing to scoff at. Ending at 500 on a football season is difficult no matter what level you play at. So that's really good to see from Lindenwood because you're getting to your winning ways. Now, the issue, kind of like how you said a few years ago, they were on the fifth string quarterback, you don't know who. We're going right back to the problem that we don't have a quarterback because Nate Glantz is graduating. He is a senior, and he is saying goodbye to Lindenwood. So they are going to have to try to find the next quarterback if they have not been developing him in, practices and stuff like that.
They are. We have a guy.
We might.
But we haven't seen a lot.
Exactly. And so we need to find a QB to be able to facilitate, Steve Hall or Rico Bond. Because, we've been talking about Rico all semester long, all season long. He is absolutely their deep threat. He is their best receiver. He's a freshman. He's here for the long haul that we know of. So try and get a quarterback to help facilitate those weapons that you have on the offense so that way these players want to keep coming around. That way you can improve your winning ways. The Western Illinois loss, it was embarrassing. It really was. It was embarrassing. Everybody had Lindenwood. Nobody was picking Western Illinois. And then all of a sudden, Western Illinois just went, oh, yeah, hey, we want to play football this week. No, and we're just going to decide.
We want to play football in the second half. And Lindenwood said, we don't.
Yeah. So it was bad. But, Lindenwood still finished strong on the back half. They still finished well, towards the end. And at least they were able to win that game ball brawl. And the SEMO rivalry, that's great. But now it's time to have more than just a 500 break-even record. Now it's time to have that positive winning record. But that's just my opinion. What sort of big changes do you think Lindenwood needs to make next year to be, better? Because I know I said I expected a little bit more out of them. I know I said QB's their problem, but what do you think they need to improve on to get that better record for next year?
Well, for one, where do I start? Well, before I get into that, I want to say one thing that recently happened that put FCS football in perspective for me, especially our own conference. We saw Tennessee Tech all season long, ranked in the top 10, playing amazing football. They get to the first round of the playoffs, and yes, maybe they got screwed. Maybe their fan base has a point. Maybe they should have had a bye. They play North Dakota, and they get pantsed.
Yeah.
They got destroyed. And this is a team that ran over the entire conference. So for one, that put things in perspective for me, and especially with Lindenwood, thinking, if that team can drop 50 on us and then do that, what does that make us? But I'll say within our own conference, you had those games versus Gardner-Webb in Western Illinois. And I'll excuse the Tennessee Tech one. You're playing in the rain against a run-first team with a kind of lacking run defense with lightning delays that kill you at every turn. That one was
sucked.
Whatever. I'll give them a pass. But this is a team that mollywopped UT Martin, one of the best teams in the conference this year. We were their only loss going into the conference championship. And then you come out against Gardner-Webb with a backup quarterback who had been awful in his career to that point, coming off of 5 turnovers, and the team looks unprepared. Offensively, the scheme changed entirely. I know I already went in on it.
Yeah.
We have talent up and down this roster, and for you to play like that in that game and then against Western at the end of the year, I think it's offensive coaching. It's the game plan. It's that the right play calls are not being delivered in the big moment. That it seems like the coaching staff is a little confused at times on what to do in weird situations. And I wouldn't put that on Jed, and I wouldn't put it on the defense because, quite frankly, they were injured this year. They didn't quite have the pieces or the size defensively, but offensively, come on. there were some games and some drives where I was really scratching my head, and a lot of people surrounding the team, and I'm not going to name names because that'd be not okay.
Not very all right.
But people that kind of covered or been around kind of had the same agreement. So for Lindenwood, if you want to ask me what's the biggest change they need to make, I'm not saying get rid of the guy. I'm saying make changes to how you want to go about things as a football team. There's a time and a place to be aggressive, and at times this year, they were over-aggressive, especially that second half versus Western, where you had like a 3rd and 7. And you know you're going for it on 4th down because you're in that kind of weird range where you can't kick. We're taking a deep shot. And then on 4th down, 4th and 7, you're up in the football game. Could do like a pooch punt. No, another deep shot to the end zone. Like, that stuff can't happen. Just mental lapses, things like that, of that nature. The Gardner-Webb game, not competitive from start to finish. Gotta change that moving forward because this team had a lot of talent. And I know you mentioned that, most people are happy with 6-6. I was not. The St. Thomas game, yeah, they're a good football team, but they were not prepared for that one. They came out and lost that one. And then you have the 2 in conference that you lose, once again, excluding Tennessee Tech. I thought there'd be more. So I don't want to completely discredit the season. There were a lot of really good moments, and I think we're heading in the right direction. You brought in some talented players. You're bringing in youth. You're able to get people in the portal to come to your school because you're playoff eligible. Gotta fix the offensive play calling for next year. Also, if you're a fan, please, let Lindenwood know what you would like to see so you can stay at the games because people leave at halftime a lot. That's a change I want to see. I'll ask you on that, too. I want to continue this conversation.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier today, some friends. We were talking about Lindenwood football. How do you get people to stay? And we mentioned some old things they used to do back in the day, having the fan come out and kick and things like that would happen in the first half or halftime. But in the second half, there's nothing happening. So if you're a Lindenwood student out there, and I know you are, and you're going to be here for the next few years, what would it take for you to stay the entire time at a Lindenwood football game?
Well, I think just sitting there, especially since it's getting, it's Missouri fall, it's Missouri winter, and those can be harsh. Those can be brutal. If anything, this past week really proved that you have to do something to keep people entertained. Because those 2-hour, 3-hour lightning delays that happen back to back, nobody's going to want to stay for the game after that. Which that
happens everywhere, though.
That's such a flash in a pan sort of incident that that one, if nobody stuck around, I understand. But if people are leaving at halftime consistently at every single home game, that's an issue. You need to provide, you don't have to go out and get French Montana or, DJ Khaled to come play a halftime just to get people interested in college football. No, kind of like you said, having somebody kick a field goal at halftime. Or better yet, get the mascot involved. Do a race the mascot thing. Because I know whenever I went to Mizzou, whenever they played Alabama, they had somebody at halftime come onto the field and race the helmet cart, where one dude went from one end zone to the other, and that helmet cart was right next to him, did the exact same thing, and they just raced. Now, obviously, it's not a fair race, but they got to make it fair and all that. But even better, the lion, the mascot, line them up next to some random student and just race to the 50-yard line or race to the other end zone.
Race from the 50 towards the student section.
Yeah, exactly. Race towards the 50, from the 50 to the student section. If the student wins, get a free T-shirt or hoodie or what have you. Or if Leo or what's the lion's name again?
Leo.
Leo?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I got
You're
that right.
You're a fake and a fraud.
I know.
It's okay.
If he wins, extra 10 push-ups on top of the run that you just did and all that, Leo joins you for it. Just something that is a little bit more of a gimmick that gets people interested to where they kind of want to watch instead of just, hey, that's halftime.
Can we do a battle of the frats right before the fourth quarter, please? Give me some tug of war, have some competition so the frats are forced to stay, and at the end of the game, have another giveaway. The free T-shirt or something to get in, I understand, but maybe move that towards the end so that people at least show up for the fourth quarter. So that when the game is on the line, when the big moment finally happens and Lindenwood's on the national stage because of a great ending, the student section isn't barren and just empty. That's going to be bad press. It's going to be bad media. It won't be a good look.
No.
Let's move some of the stuff towards the end so that, maybe the general public, they start to leave. Maybe they're like, oh, this isn't interesting. But the students randomly start showing up at the end for the giveaways, whatever, and it looks good.
Yeah.
And then when something cool happens, they start coming back. I think we're both on this right track here of these events that need to maybe start happening during these football games.
It's the little gimmicks that get people to stick around. Because, prime example, and this has nothing to do with football, the Gateway Grizzlies over on the Illinois side of the river. I went to a game of theirs whenever I was a kid, and one of their big things is they had people racing those bubble suits.
Yep.
You could even do that. Get 2 students, put them in a bubble suit, and hey, you start at this end zone. Whoever wins a hoodie or wins a,
Oh, wait,
whatever.
hang on. What if they
Go.
play soccer against each other?
There you go.
Dude, because people would be fouling like crazy, just like throwing their body in, the ball would be rolling all over the place. That'd be a fun little match. Like a 3v3?
They're wrapped in a big bubble. So it's not like it's unsafe. Like, they are their own, crash pad. So, just something like that.
So what we're saying is, Lindenwood, give us a job. We're going to fix all your problems. All right. All right, we'll move on. We yapped about football for a while. Women's volleyball also wrapped up their season, and I saw your eyes light up. So big news? What was that?
No, sorry. So while I'm here at Lindenwood, I have a couple buddies who live in Columbus, Ohio, and they live and breathe Ohio State, which... Hoosiers, let's go. I'm so happy Ohio State lost. Apparently, homeboy walked into, I think it was a Waffle House, with the entire Ohio State marching band, so I guess they're getting ready for some sort of game out there. But anyway, sorry,
Playoffs.
I was distracted.
Playoffs, man.
Playoffs.
Our team isn't in the playoffs this year. They are.
No, it's not. And
But we were the last team to beat them on a neutral site. Mizzou, and given half their team transferred away before the game.
That's
All right,
true.
anyways, women's volleyball time. They finished 11-16, 7-11 in the conference. It didn't look good, but the end of the year, their final game, they're in the playoffs versus the 1 seed. It goes 5 sets. A really, really good effort to finish things off. That's what you've been wanting to see. The match right before that, final one of the season, kind of a must-win game for Little Rock. You take them to 5, you get a W against one of the better teams in the conference who had everything to play for.
Yeah.
Seeding was on the line, as far as I can understand, because they had tiebreaker over SEMO. They win that one. They tie with SEMO in the rankings, and then they have the next spot up. Well, Lindenwood wins that one. Things looked good. They had momentum. They finished strong. The season as a whole, it was kind of error-filled, I'm not going to lie. We talked about serve receives. We talked about just too many attacking errors. But if you're Lindenwood, I say you just got to run it back.
Yeah.
You have a young roster. You have a good head coach. Things got better towards the end. I understand that people don't want to wait for rebuilds. It gets annoying and kind of boring after a while. But they just won a tournament championship the year before. They won the OVC. They went to the MIVA. This year... things happen. We talked about it with soccer. You lost your entire senior class. Almost your entire starting rotation left. They almost won a round versus the 1 seed. I don't know how much you can ask for. How much more can you realistically expect out of this roster? If things struggle next year, bring in some veteran leadership on top of it. Bring in some old seniors from other teams who are looking for a place, so you have a veteran voice, people that have played a lot of volleyball, maybe a little bit mentally stronger, but just don't have the physical attributes. Maybe that's what you add. Maybe that makes the team better. But outside of that, I think you got to keep the core together and just run it back.
And, I agree with you wholeheartedly. They just won the OVC in its entirety, and they still made it back to the playoffs where, unfortunately, they had to go against the top team in the OVC. That really was just kind of a stroke of bad luck, having to go against the best team. However, to take them all the way and, not just let them steamroll you shows that there is life in this young team that they just need to be able to sort of fine-tune and just sharpen up those instincts a little bit. Nothing drastic. Because the fact that this was still a playoff team while being completely brand new, shows that the coaching is immaculate and it's there. It shows that some of the older players that were, young players on that championship roster can help lead these newer, younger players to those wins. We just need to see it develop. I think overall this rebuild is still going to take like a year or two. We might see Autumn backs, in her senior year or graduated by the time that this rebuild is quote unquote done. But I definitely think it's within the next couple years that they're going to be right back in the OVC championship.
I agree. It's going to take some time, and I'm excited to see where it takes them.
Oh, yeah.
There's another women's sport going on right now. They're in a bit of a rebuild of their own.
Yeah, they
Jet,
are.
can you tell me about women's hockey?
So women's hockey, I know their season wasn't really looking too pretty at the beginning of the year. However, they've improved a little bit. Women's hockey is currently sitting at 6-14-2. Not the best of records, but not terrible. They currently have a record of 3-3 in their last 3 series. So basically one off, one on, one off, one on. I know a couple of them went to a shootout. Lindenwood won one. The worst loss out of all 6 of those games, though, came to Mercyhurst University, who they just recently played this past weekend, where they lost 10-1 on enemy ice. So there was really no resistance there. They just kind of got pushed over. And
Team just didn't come to play that day,
no,
unfortunately.
they did not. However, the very next night, they'd turn it around. They'd win 5-2 with all goals coming from unique scorers, every single time. All 5 of those goals came from a different person every single time. Now, some of the scorers may have assisted on other ones, but all 5 unique people.
Depth scoring. Can never have enough of it.
Depth of scoring. They just needed... So, kind of going back to that, I did say earlier in the season that they needed to work on that teamwork and they needed to be able to, rely on each other in those certain tough situations to pull out the win. And I think with the depth of scoring of 5 unique scorers, especially coming off of a 10-1 loss, that shows that they're starting to get that teamwork mentality kind of battered in a little bit.
Or the head coach reamed them after the 10-1 loss and said, you better go out there and give me a better performance tomorrow.
Like, hey, learn how to work with each other. And I think they did. I think that shows a level of cohesion that we're starting to kind of get later in the season. Will it result in any sort of winning formula by the end of the season? Probably not. We're still probably going to end with a negative record, but it shows improvement. It shows the need and the want to win. Now, however, with volleyball and their rebuild only taking a year or two, hockey's is probably a long way away. At least women's hockey is a long way away. And that's not a terrible thing because, learning more about hockey, it's really hard to keep a consistent core around. But if Lindenwood were to keep their women's hockey core around for a while, I think that they could get that sort of, teamwork.
I think
I keep saying
what you're
it,
saying
but
there, you keep a core around, right? The
Yeah.
team is consistently competitive. That's the hope eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you fluke into a conference championship and all of a sudden now you can start recruiting. But it's going to be a while. It's going to take an old team, more than likely, to get the job done, which every team on campus, I think, is trying to chase the women's soccer team. Well, they were so young. They didn't have a lot of adults in the... Okay, everyone's an adult in the room, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Veteran leadership. They didn't have it. And they won. Surely everyone else can do that. No, that's lightning in a bottle. You can't chase that. So for them, it's just maybe keeping the core around. And one of the things I'll say about the team is they have a sport that is really expensive for the university.
Yeah.
Hockey is so expensive. They have to, rent out the ice center. They have that partnership going. You're traveling every weekend, but it's a long season, right? So it's not like you stay, for football, you stay in a hotel for 2 days and you're out. It's a hotel on Thursday, you're there on Friday, you're there on Saturday, then you're out. So hotel costs, travel costs, equipment costs. If you're gonna spend the money to have a hockey team, you gotta invest in it as well. Because it's already gonna sit there and bleed you dry of money, so you might as well go out there and put some more resources into it because it's gonna exist.
Yeah.
If something's gonna sit there in the corner and be broken but cost you money, maybe pay to fix it. So that's kind of where I'm at on it because I haven't heard a lot of buzz. They don't get a lot of social media attention. Nobody ever mentions them. I feel like there's something there. Like if you're going to have a women's hockey team, which they deserve to exist, they 100% do. The women work so hard to play, and they put out a pretty entertaining product. Invest a little more. I think that's my takeaway right now from them.
Yeah.
But moving forward, there's brighter days ahead. And you're seeing some flashes this year where okay, you lost 10-1. Do you crawl into a shell? Do you just die moving forward? No, you come back out and you win 5-2. You come back the next day and say, no, we are a good hockey team. That's something that women's teams of the past would not have done. That's an improvement. That's a little win. We take the little wins. I absolutely love seeing those score lines back to back. Although, can we not do 10-1 anymore? What? No, just no. We can't have that. No.
No.
Show up and play hockey. Okay, we lost 5-1. Whatever. 10-1. Absolutely not. That just means you didn't show up. You didn't skate. No. But the men's hockey team, they are skating.
Oh, yeah.
They're playing some good hockey right now. They're currently 8-6, 5-1 in their last 3 series. November was a great month to be a Lions fan for the men's hockey team. And this is something that you can take. The next thing I'm going to say is something you can take 2 different ways. If you're positive or if you're a negative person, just listen to this. 8 wins. Tied for the most wins in D1 history already. We're 14 games into the season. Now, you can be negative and say, man, this program has been awful. Or you can say, hey, we're only 14 games in and we tied a record.
I was about to say, only up from here.
But when I saw that and I was reading through the records, I was shocked. But that tells you this year, this team's a little bit different. They're a bit more competitive, and a big part of that is their freshman goalie, Liam Bierman. He has been really, really good, and I know we're going to talk about him a bit more later, maybe some 3 stars action. But you got 2 goalies that are pretty decent, and Liam Bierman's been outstanding. You're getting depth scoring across the lineup. Everyone's contributing. When things aren't going great, especially with the penalty kill, one of the worst in the country, okay, the penalty kill sucks. Let's just not take penalties. And the team's really good at doing that. They're kind of masking their own weaknesses and finding ways to win hockey games, which is what you have to do when you don't have the greatest roster. So one thing to remember with this team, mediocre is good, except mediocre because it can be a whole lot worse. It has been a whole lot worse, and we're seeing progress. -1 goal differential on the season. You hate to see a minus, but it's mediocre.
But it's mediocre.
It's decent. We'll take it. I'll take it. Considering the schedule to start the year, you had Denver, you had Wisconsin. Those games were not exactly pretty outside of the one versus Denver, and then the next night they just did what they were supposed to do. There's been some blowout losses, and yet we found a way to get back to -1. I'll take it. And at 5v5, because our power play has not been good, our penalty kill has been pretty bad. At 5v5, even strength, 0 goal differential. We are perfect yin and yang. We are perfectly mediocre. The definition of mid, and mid is good, and I will take it.
Considering last year, if 8 was the most wins that this program had, I'd rather take mediocre performance where the ceiling is only up from here versus what was considered the best last year, and they were not good.
Right. And I feel like somebody might hear this and be like, dude, why are you crapping on the hockey team? Mediocre is good. We are happy. We are legitimately happy. I am so glad that I can go to a game right now against a good team and say, Lindenwood might be able to win. Yeah. There's a chance we could win this hockey game. The last few years, that was not a thing. It really wasn't. We had to stress games against Stonehill. Stonehill. They were realistically one of the worst NCAA hockey teams ever fielded, and we lost a game to them. This year, I don't sweat that.
No.
And now I'm putting that out there, and now we're going to lose to Stonehill. But realistically, I don't sweat it this year. This team has made a lot of big strides. You have a new head coach. I had questions on that too. You have 3 head coaches in 3 different seasons. When is it going to end? I think it ends here.
That sucks. 3 head coaches in 3 different seasons, and last year we could have kept that head coach, but I mean he
got a better job.
He did, and he ditched Lindenwood, and you know what? I hope you're doing well, dude, but you gave up on a good core of dudes.
And he was a good guy too. Really scary to talk to though. I interviewed him. I was like, dude, this guy looks like he's gonna kill me. But he was an intense head coach. That's the way he went about it. Now he's coaching somewhere else. This weekend we have a ranked team on the road, number 11 Maine. But I'll say this: it's a hot take. Maybe it'll blow up in my face. Maine is not going to be ranked next time the rankings come around. They're just not. I mean, they are a decent hockey team. They've played a tough schedule. They just got swept by an unranked team. They're 8-7-1 on the season. Very similar record to Lindenwood. Actually, a worse record than Lindenwood. But they're number 11 because they've played tough teams. It's like, yeah, if you play a tough team every week, but you keep getting beat, great. That's a quality loss. It's still a loss.
A loss is a loss, no matter if it's quality or not. So
Lindenwood might be catching them at a good time. Things have kind of cooled off for Maine. They haven't been themselves, and they're coming off of short rest because today is not Tuesday. I'm used to doing these on Tuesdays. Today is Monday. In 2 days, they're playing a conference game in the middle of the week. That's weird. You don't see that a lot in hockey. So short rest, not playing their best hockey, Lindenwood might have a chance. And if they're still ranked by the time the game rolls around, still a ranked victory looks good for your resume. That's all I'm going to say. Men's basketball, go.
Men's basketball, they are currently sitting at 5-4. With the conference play sort of kicking off, not high octane conference play just yet, but it kicked off. They're 1-0 in the OVC right now, which is good. They just played Eastern Illinois and won a close one, with the final score being 82-74. So, yeah, you kind of want to see a bigger score differential, especially against Eastern Illinois of all teams, because they seem to be a thorn in the side of Lindenwood, no matter the sport, whether it's football, soccer, or anything. They seem to just kind of be there and be a pest. More so than SEMO this year specifically.
In football, they were a waste of space.
Yeah.
They were bad.
The big player in that Eastern Illinois game, though, was Jadis Jones, who went 9 for 12 on field goals, totaling 23 points to help the Lions win their first conference game of the season. So thank you very much. Their next game is against Culver Stockton College at Highland Arena on December 9th. The games following, though, there's only 1 conference and 2 non-cons before hitting that hardcore conference schedule play. So, we are about to be in that conference play where all we play is OVC teams, but there's 2 non-cons, 1 conference, but the 1 non-con that we hit right before all we do is play OVC teams is the recently FBS promoted school, Missouri State. The recently D1, but
in a bowl game now.
Bowl D1. Yeah, they play in the Xbox Bowl.
Great.
The grand opening of the Xbox Bowl.
The console with no games on it, but I digress.
This is not a game show. This is a sports show. We're going to have a discussion about that.
In sports,
one.
they play games, and games are played on PlayStation. Not on Xbox, there's no games. There's also no games on PlayStation either.
You can be wrong, and it's okay. But anyway, their last non-con game is against Missouri State, and I think that'd actually be a really good sort of test game to go forward with, especially with Missouri State having all the press of going to a bowl game with football and being that new power team in D1 sports. I think it would be really good for Lindenwood to kind of kick off their conference schedule with, hey, we beat Missouri State. We're ready for anybody in the OVC.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of teams they beat, you have Northern Illinois. That game was crazy. The first few possessions, I'm like, okay, it's a team that's higher than us in the Ken Palm. They're a MAC team. They're going to beat us. I wasn't very high on it coming in, but I decided to tune in anyways because I wanted to see, for one, what a MAC broadcast looked like because I'm a broadcast nerd. And the first 10 minutes of that game were the best basketball I've ever seen Lindenwood play. Straight up. Dude, it was like I was watching us play a D2 team. They'd get up the floor, they'd try to do anything, immediately steal, go back the other way. Find an open three. Great passing in the paint. It was legitimately good basketball, which is something I have never really said about Lindenwood men's basketball in my entire time being here. I've hated the schemes that we've rolled out. I've been like, we don't have the players, we don't have the size. For once, everything came together for a magical 10 minutes. And then we just took care of business the rest of the way. Played decent basketball, won the game. And something else I want to point out before we move on to women's basketball, I love the scheduling. It's been all over the place, but you've played Power 5 teams. You've played teams that are kind of at your level in the Ken Pom. You've played lesser OVC teams, and you're going to play another one coming up. You had 2 gimme games. You have a constant mix of teams that play different styles at different levels with different talent. And guess what that means for the team? You can't get comfortable at any point. You're consistently having to change the way you go about your business, having to defend different things. You're seeing different things. You're getting crushed one night, but the next night you're on top of the world. That is how you build a mentally tough basketball team. So I'm going to give props to Coach Gerdeman on this. This was a really well put together schedule.
Oh, yeah.
So women's basketball, we're high on the men's basketball team, but I am really high on the women's basketball team.
Oh, they are great. Phenomenal, even.
I would give you phenomenal. I was going to say, great. That's an understatement. 7-2, 3-game win streak. Their only losses on the season are to number 16 Baylor and an 8-3 Santa Clara team. They've beat a lot of quality teams, and it's early in the season, so I'm going off of preseason rankings because the Ken Pom does not exist for women, which needs to change. We need a Ken Pom ranking for women's basketball teams. They've beaten preseason number 3, Oral Roberts, out of the Summit. Preseason number 1, Hawaii, out of the Big West. Preseason number 1, Vermont, out of the American East. And number 4, Drake in the MVC. These are quality teams that they played that could be considered peers.
Yeah.
They're winning basketball games. It's not like they're feasting on the OVC and all the crappy teams.
No,
they're playing teams out of conference that you might see later on this year, and maybe I don't think any of these teams are truly going to go on a run, but maybe you do end up seeing them in the NCAA tournament.
Which, by the way, a little off topic, but kind of on topic. Seeing them go to Oahu and being able to play on Hawaiian home turf, that was really cool to see because it looked like all of them had a really, really good time out there.
I had a good time watching it because it's W, W, W. They're printing W's right now, man.
It was literally win, win, win in every single graphic that they were posting right after the game.
And why do they win? Depth scoring, they don't foul, they force turnovers, and they have amazing conditioning because the bench this year, I say depth scoring, it's like everybody on the floor can score, but on the bench, it's a little light this year on players you can pull up. The players don't look tired at the end of games. They play the entire game. They play hard. The final minutes, they don't look like they're gassed at all. It looks like the first 5 minutes. This team practices really hard. I know when I go to work out at Evans, I can see them practicing down there. They're intense practices. This coaching staff demands a lot from these players, and they are going out there, giving us a great effort every single night. So,
I mean, it's showing in their season. It is 100% showing in their season. The fact that they only have 2 losses, but every single other team that is quote-unquote ranked, but off of those top preseason rankings, handled business.
Right.
Decisively.
If we end up making the tournament, we'll be like, what, a 14, 15, or 16 seed? I'd hate to be any of the top teams having to play Lindenwood. Like, yeah, you're going to win, most likely. But the chance of an upset versus a team that's this deep, that isn't relying on one player or one gimmick, that's dangerous. That's where you could see a really random loss coming out of that just breaks everyone's bracket. Now, that's a long way away. We have no idea how this team stacks up against the OVC, the top dogs, the Tennessee Techs. But I like the way they play basketball. What I don't like is I was looking through their team stats on the year. It shows attendance, and y'all are slacking. Everyone in Lindenwood. Dude, this is a great team. This is probably, and I'm not exaggerating, the best team across any Lindenwood sport that has ever been fielded here on campus in the Division I era. And yet, other teams are averaging 150 more fans per game, and given, I know that doesn't sound like a lot because we're used to seeing big fan numbers.
Yeah.
We're like averaging like 800. Like other teams are averaging like 900 to 1,000 at a game. Dude, these other schools suck. And they're getting more attention. Show up to the games. This is a really good basketball team.
At least they're showing up to their people's stuff. Like, they may be terrible, but at least, like, their student section's
Dude, our most
full.
attended game every year is the children's game where everyone's like, hey, they scored 67 points, hey! Like, that can't be it. Education Day
so
cannot
awful.
be, it was awful, but that can't be your most attended game.
No.
The entire community has to rally behind this team because they are genuinely talented. Speaking of talent, let's move into our 3 stars of the week.
It's time for the 3 stars of the week.
Alrighty, so starting with number 3, Jadis Jones, 4th in OVC in points per game, with the average being 16.6. Highest points per game for Lindenwood since Keon Cole in the 23-24 school year at 18.1. 3rd in OVC in rebounds, averaging about 7.9. Up about 10% from last year. And, barely fouling with a lot more increased production coming out of him.
I'm going to apologize right now. I wrote those notes and I put an acronym on there that was not familiar. Free throw percentage.
There we go.
Last year, this guy could not make a free throw. And this year, it's not amazing, still in the mid-70s, but up 10%. He's getting more action. He's being called upon more often. He's driving to the paint. He's not shooting threes. He's strictly a guy that's going to go down there, drive the lane, and give you a bucket. And yet, he's barely fouling more. I think it's like 0.1 more fouls per game. And yet, he is the offense. He is the guy running this team right now. And he's not the only guy that has to produce. But when he's called upon, he's been delivering. That's why he's my number 3 star of the week.
There you go.
I hope you agree, because I did put him on there.
No, he definitely deserves it. He has showed up, and, kudos to Jadis Jones.
He's been great. I think I saw him leaving Spelman today, too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know what he had, but he can have whatever the heck he wants. He's carrying this team right now. Number 2, we mentioned it earlier, Liam Bierman, 3-0 in November, 5-1 on the season, and in the month of November, he had a 2 goals against average and a .934 save percentage, and he played against Ferris State, Robert Morris, Long Island, all teams that normally, I'd say, Lindenwood's probably going to split or lose these series. He showed up. He was great. He was the NCAA Independent Goalie of the Month.
And now for the top star. She was our most recent guest and just went on a Hawaiian tour with the women's basketball team that we just talked about, and that is Miss Alicia Jones. She was tabbed with her 2nd OVC Newcomer of the Week before the Lions game with Drake, where, she ended up performing very well, one of their top scorers. She scored about 20 points against Duke. 20 of the 68 points to beat Duke, by the way. So about a third of the points she scored. And then in the game against Hawaii, while they were in Oahu, she scored 19 of the 68.
She's been pretty darn good at basketball. I hate to correct you. It probably auto-corrected. It's Drake. Like the guy
it is Drake, and I don't know why I think Duke football. I'm wrong. He's right. It is Drake.
And not the one that does questionable things and gets roasted by Kendrick.
Drake, the college.
Yeah, the one that beat Mizzou.
But also one thing, I couldn't
find
find the clip of it. I wanted to find the clip of it so we could play it here on the show. But she was also in a Sports Center top 10 for making like a half-court shot.
Hang on, we could cheat here.
Yeah?
Keep stalling. I'm going to pull it up.
So, no, she has been one of the top performers. I know when we interviewed her, it was just an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to her and have her share her journey through D2 basketball. And while it sounded like she might have wanted to stay there because, the whole loyalty thing, that's where she, cut her teeth and where she was able to sort of build and develop her own play style. We're very happy that she's here at Lindenwood and that she's, performing as well as she is. And especially, I know those flights to Hawaii. Those are easily 12, 13-hour flights, especially here from St. Louis. It is rough.
I believe we have found the clip. Without further ado, one of the best shots in Lindenwood history.
And they are back to within 3. And now, very little time. The shot by Jones goes through from three-quarter court. Unbelievable. What a shot. Lindenwood, let's get another look. You don't see this very often. Bullseye.
She knew it. She knew.
So other than the Homer announcer not really being all that exciting but having to fake the excitement, that was a great shot.
Three-quarter court. I was wrong. I said half court. No, three-quarter court, and she was able to just, I mean,
there was
like
no
the other
rim. There was no backboard. It just went in.
It just bucket. And
no, she's been great, man. She's been just what an honor to be able to have her on this team on top of everything else.
And to be able to talk to her.
Right. I mean, and it was also, if it was a funny interview, go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
First question asked, how are you doing today? Good. Like,
It was great.
But no, she's amazing, but I'll talk about the whole team. Like, the whole team is littered with talent. And to add somebody that just comes in and is automatically one of your top scoring threats, on top of a team that almost won the conference last year and won playoff games, dude, that's crazy. Amy Egan's pulling some crazy strings to be able to pull players like that and add them onto this roster. So really awesome to have her. I know we drew it out a bit, but I just did not have the soundbite ready, so I apologize for that. What I want to apologize for is our break coming up. It's been a long semester for both of us. We're tired. It's time for us to go home and spend time with our families. We hope all of you guys get the opportunity to do that as well. But for the last time this year, thank you guys all so much for tuning into the Lions Den. It's been a great semester, and we'll see you guys in the spring.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Lions Den. We're on air every Tuesday at 6 p.m. right here on the Tower, and all recordings are on the Roar Network YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your evening, and go Lions!